Alrighty, so I've been collecting up news items. We're going to throw them all into one video. One news of the day video for you fine people. And we're going to start with the lightning. Yeah, it's a brand new lightning hat I got. Anyways, it doesn't, I don't know that I like how it looks on camera, but whatever. Anyways, the lightning, I got it from Hatland. So people are wondering, hatland.com. The lightning are trying to move Demang. We've known they were trying to move Demang since they signed McElhenney. Yeah, it's so weird. And I've made this comparison before. I'll make it again. Basically, they got their new girlfriend before moving the old girlfriend out. So the old girlfriend looks and goes, "Oh, he's your new girl here, huh?" And that's Demang right now. He's been well aware he's on his way out of town since that took place. The thing with Demang is his numbers have never been fantastic. So even though he had a lot of wins last year, I don't know how many teams there would be in the National Hockey League that would look at their goaltending and say Demang would be an upgrade over our current backup. That's where it gets tricky. And of course, you don't want to trade for Demang just to put him on waivers and then lose him for nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Lightning do. I think they're going to end up having to waive him at some point. Chris Kunitz has retired, and he has been hired as a player development advisor by the Blackhawks. He had a longer career than I think most people had expected. He had 619 points in 1,022 games with Anaheim, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Tampa, and Chicago. And I remember Brian Burke taking a lot of questions about why he had given up Chris Kunitz and given up on Chris Kunitz. And I seem to remember him stating something along the lines of Kunitz wouldn't have been able to do with us what he's done with other teams, and we're happy for him. But he came out of it all right because he had a cup win with Anaheim, and he wins 3 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, 2009, 2016, 2017. So 4 Stanley Cups for Kunitz. That's pretty good. And as an advisor for the Hawks, I would think that if the Chicago Blackhawks get back to their glory, he could potentially end up with a Stanley Cup ring in the Chicago organization in some manner. So, only wishing the best to him and all of that other wonderful stuff. And moving along to Dave Tippett, hints that McDavid may play the entire power play this year. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens, where Tippett is coming in and he's already saying, I don't want McDavid on the penalty kill. I want him to play as much time on the power play as possible. I think that's the best usage of his time. We know that Connor McDavid plays a lot. He plays more than any other forward, and there are games where it shows. If Tippett is able to figure out how to get maximum ice time out of him with less energy expended, and thus he'll have more energy later on in games and more energy later on in the season, less of a chance of getting hurt, he's better off. And he has said that being on the power play is less strenuous than being on the penalty kill. It's less work involved, less skating involved. So he doesn't see any reason McDavid can't play the full 2 minutes on the power play. A signing from a few days ago I didn't do a video on. Hamenev has extended his stay with Colorado with a 1-year, $750,000 agreement. I like Hamenev. I hope he has an injury-free season this year and really shows why the Colorado Avalanche traded for him. Ottawa's kind of making people mad right now. Some people. I think it's more media than anything else. So we've got this collective bargaining agreement. And as you'll see down here, it says talks are ongoing and September looms. The NHL has an opt-out date. I believe it's the 1st. And then the players have an opt-out date of the 19th. And then that means that we could have a lockout the following summer. The following September 1st, I guess. But the idea that we're all playing on an even playing field is just simply false. And when people talk about, well, why do you pick up LTIR money? Well, here's the thing. So, with what Ottawa's got on the roster currently, and they've got some guys who can go on long-term injured reserve, which gets them help in terms that some of that money that those guys are going to make gets paid for by insurance. When LTIR was brought in, and it was brought in as, okay, you can go over the cap, it was more of an idea of, okay, so you have a guy who gets hurt. While he's out, if it's a long-term injury, you can replace that. You can sign somebody else to come in. You can go over the cap temporarily. And then once that player is no longer injured and comes off the LTIR, then you're going to have to make a move. This is not how it's getting used at all. It really isn't. It's very rare that we actually see it. And when you look at actual money being spent this year on the roster, Ottawa's spending as low as $48 million when you factor in all of the insurance and all of that other wonderful stuff. And of course, whatever Colin White gets whenever he gets re-signed, that gets factored in as well, but it's not going to be $12 million or something like that. So when you look at cap friendly, it shows Ottawa having a $65.8 million cap. So they're above the cap floor. But when you look at actual money being spent, it's $48 million. And this is something that has some people kind of wondering if we might see this as a battleground before the next CBA goes into effect. Because, again, there's some belief that this is not how LTIR was meant to be used. And it's a way for Eugene Melnyk to not spend money. It is a way for the Toronto Maple Leafs to spend way over the cap, and it's fine because a lot of that money goes on LTIR, so it doesn't count. It's interesting, and we'll see how that turns out this coming season. But yeah, Ottawa's not spending any money, and this is why I wonder too. When they say, "Well, then we'll just become better in a year or two." Well, if you're known as a really cheap organization and you've chased off all your veterans, which veterans are going to sign there? And when these young kids are up, what's going to make them say, I want to stay in Ottawa for 6 or 7 years? And what if you're only offering them 2-year bridge deals? I don't think that him being cheap is going to change in a year or two. I think we're just kicking the can down the road a little bit. Anyways, Pittsburgh. Probably hearing what Chicago did for Chris Kunitz. They said, oh, you did that for our former guy. Fine. We'll take Matt Cullen and give him a player development role in our organization. So Cullen is going to get a player development role as well. This seems to be a common way for hockey players to get into the management side of things. So you just come in, you take a player development role, and then they figure out where you're going to go in the organization from there. Some end up being scouts, some end up being assistant coaches. And Matt Cullen would seem to be a natural for that. The one thing that Kunitz, I believe it was Kunitz that had said, is he's going to miss the just some of the training camp stuff. It's going to be weird for him not doing that. He's not going to really miss the summer workouts, but he's going to miss the rest of that. So it is an adjustment for these guys, and for some, they're like, all right, I'm done with hockey. And for some, they say, no, I'm not done with hockey. Bring it on. And this having broken about 12 minutes before I started this video, Michael Stone is on waivers with Calgary for purposes of a buyout. So I may have listed him on the wrong side. I may have had him on the left side defense instead of right. And now it doesn't matter. He's gone. So now that I've started doing my previews, wait for it. This is when some movement starts to happen again. It did last year too. I don't redo previews just because depth guys get moved. But there you go. So Stone's on waivers. Calgary's got a lot of depth on the blue line. And now this frees up, I believe I was reading $2.3 million extra for them to try to get Tkachuk signed. Those restricted free agents have to get signed in the next couple of weeks. This logjam has to clear. And some teams are going to be making more cap space to make it happen. So keep your eyes on the waiver wire for guys who might be getting bought out. And I will report it to you as quickly as I can when it happens. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.